Steve Emerson is a guy that is so accurate. He's the guy that when you want to know the truth about what's happening with Muslim extremists, you go to Steve Emerson. He is so accurate that you never see him on television because CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood have so much power in this country that they keep him off of television. No one is willing to ever put him on television unless there's real trouble. He's the guy that was warning and ringing the bell before 9/11. He was the guy, and everybody was all over Steve Emerson until CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood and everybody else went all politically correct. Steve Emerson is one of the bravest heroes and patriots in our country and has taken a beating for a very, very long time for telling Americans the truth. If you don't want to hear the truth, turn the radio or TV off right now, because Steve Emerson is here to tell us what he knows. Steve, welcome to the program.
Hi, Glenn. I just found videos posted by one of the suspects. Actually, I found 22 videos, all radical Islamic videos calling for the killing of infidels. This has not been reported. These videos are in Russian and in English, and we're in the midst of translating them. I just saw one in English that talked about hellfire for those who don't convert to Islam. It was posted by the brother who was killed.
Can you get those to us, or we'll have our producers when we hang up the phone, and we'll make sure that they're exposed.
Yeah, amazing stuff I'm looking at here.
So how many of them? 22 videos?
I'm sorry?
22 videos?
22 videos so far.
Okay, who is the brother now? There was just a raid a few minutes ago. We got a note that there was a raid in Silver Springs, Maryland, at another brother's house. Do you know anything about these?
No,
guys?
I don't know anything about that. I know that an uncle lives in Maryland, but I don't know that who was interviewed today on a local television station. But he said he hadn't been in contact with the family for 11 years. So this is news to me.
Okay.
They're looking at somebody in Maryland.
Can you tell us, I want to get to who I'm calling suspect number one. So far, there are, I believe, 3 suspects that America knows about, 4 that America is probably going to begin to know about, and possibly more. But suspect number one is the guy that everybody saw first, which they said he was a suspect in the case. He was the Saudi Arabian guy that was in the hospital. Suspect number 2, this is the way I am counting them. Suspect number 2 is the brother that was killed early this morning in Boston. Suspect number 3 is the one that we're getting mixed reports on. I see only one report that is saying that he blew himself up, but I don't think that's true. Because none of the TV stations are reporting that he has blown himself up. But then again, I don't believe anybody on TV anymore. And then there's this 4th suspect in that we're just hearing about in Silver Springs, Maryland. Can you bring us up to speed on first suspect 2 and 3 anything that you do know? The 22 videos, they're from Chechnya. Can you give us any kind of background on any part of this at all?
Yeah, they came here, at least one of them came here 10 years ago. There's a larger family. There are 9 family members living in the same apartment complex in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where the one brother was killed. In the apartment, they found more explosives and radical Islamic literature. 9 other members of the family lived in that same building. They came here under asylum, as did the 2 brothers. That's because of immigration policy that allows anyone whose family members come under asylum, other members are allowed to come into the country also under asylum without any background checks. Number 2 is the fact that they have not released the literature, but the fact that they found more explosives suggests that they were planning on carrying out more attacks. 3, the literature, I've not seen it. It was only described to me as radical Islamic literature. And now looking at some of these videos, which are incendiary, like Al-Qaeda videos, on the channel, one of the web pages created by one of the brothers, it proves beyond the shadow of a doubt that they were not just Chechen terrorists, they were Islamic terrorists that believed in the imposition of a caliphate, just like Al-Qaeda.
These, oh boy, don't bring up the caliphate, Steve. You'll be nuts. You'll be nuts again.
Unless I convert.
Yeah, I know. This is so. I've never, with what I know about, and Steve, I know you know everything. Most likely we haven't spoken, but I know you and I probably know exactly the same stuff about who I'm deeming suspect number one in Saudi Arabia, but I don't want to get deeply into who this guy is yet. But when I found out yesterday who that guy is and what we have on him and how our media was rooting for an American to be the killer, and how our president, this administration, the Department of Homeland Security, and everything else, how they have covered this up, how they have aided and abetted this guy is obscene. And it's criminal. It is out of control. And when America knows the full story on this, if she doesn't stand up and, quite honestly, I think demand impeachment and the mass firing, if not shutting down of agencies, we don't stand a chance. Do you think I'm overstating this?
No, I think you've stated it perfectly well. I mean, articulated exactly the way it has to be stated.
I can't believe yesterday we found out we announced on the air that we have suspect number one. He was scheduled to be deported next Tuesday. Do you think he's still going to be deported?
Well, that's a good question. I saw a nice document yesterday showing that exactly what we reported the other night, that he was found to be in violation, of his visa because he engaged in national security violations. He agreed to a voluntary deportation to be held next Tuesday. And then when we released it, apparently it was supposed to be kept secret. Janet Napolitano, the next day, yesterday morning, denied any knowledge of this.
She lied.
If she was under sworn testimony, she perjured herself legally.
Yeah,
There's no doubt under this document that I saw that he was definitely scheduled to be deported for national security reasons. But I cannot tell you that he was linked to the Boston bombing.
Steve,
I just don't know that.
Steve, I can. Because we had 6 congressmen go into things that we can't go into. And they looked at documents. We told them from our sources where to go, what to look for. They did. 6 congressmen verified that it says in the documentation that we pointed them to, tied to Boston Marathon bombing. So, that one.
That's amazing, and that's very important. And the fact that they were going to try to deport him secretly shows the total immorality of this administration. Worse than that.
Do you believe that we have that this is bigger than what we're seeing now? Is there more than just this family and this Saudi guy somehow or another related?
We don't know at this point. We know that 9 members of the family lived in the same housing complex. They came here under asylum. None of them, however, called the police. So I don't know. You know, we can draw our own conclusions.
Okay.
We don't know how many of them were complicit, if any. And I don't want to jump the gun on that.
Right.
But to build a bomb like this, to carry it out, you need more than 2 people.
Do you know that? Do you know of anything about the mosque that they may have been attending in?
No, I'm trying to find that out. Their Facebook pages suggest that they were secular at some point until a few years ago. But the videos that they posted we're getting them translated as we speak right now. Although some of them are in English, and I must tell you that they're as incendiary as any open Bin Laden video that I've seen.
Yeah, we're playing it now on TV. We have one of them that we're playing now, and it's it looks like an Osama Bin Laden video, and it talks about the black flag of Islam and everything else. How bad is the area that they grew up in, or that they were living in, for Muslim jihadists? How bad is it?
I don't know about that. I mean, it was sort of a lower middle class area. Again, I don't know what mosque they did, how they were radicalized. That stuff I'm going to hopefully find out shortly once the other members of the family are interviewed, and they are being interviewed by the FBI right now.
Steve, can you give me an idea of I would like to do a show, maybe we'll do a show with you next week, of the areas in the country that are most likely. I know Minnesota, Virginia, Oklahoma. The guy that is now leading the Syrian rebels was from Dallas, Fort Worth. Where are the towns? Just to give an idea to people, these guys are here, and they are in every region of our country.
Well, I don't really know where there are pockets of Chechens living.
No, I'm not saying Chechens. I'm saying jihadists.
Jihadists, well, we know there are radical militants living in certain major pockets from California, Chicago, or at least in Bridgeville, Illinois, Chicago itself, Patterson and Passaic, Brooklyn, New York, parts of Florida, in Texas, Southern California, Seattle. They're all over the country. And now the question is, here's the point. Many of them are not going to pull a trigger. They're not going to pull the pin, but they provide a cultural jihad. In other words, they put out the narrative that fuels terrorism. They put out the narrative that says there's a war against Islam by the West, by the Jews, by the Christians. That's the number one reason why Islamic terrorists carry out. Okay? And they put that out. They're empowered by the White House. They're appointed to national security commissions. They're funded by the U.S. government. The Obama White House has invited 400 to the White House. So they are empowered by this government to put out the narrative that fuels this type of terrorism. I blame this administration as much as anyone.
So do I. Steve, can you give me the number one thing that we have done, and I've got less than a minute here. The number one thing that we have done that has aided, besides just turning a blind eye, is it turning the blind eye at the border? Is it what? What is the main thing that we need to make sure Americans are aware of?
That these radical Islamic groups, they claim to be like CARE, MPAC, and others, ISNA, that claim to be victims for civil rights groups, or anything but. They're like David Duke claiming to be a civil rights group. These are radical Islamic groups that fuel Islamic terrorism, that inhibit law enforcement, that inhibit reporting, as you pointed out, on radical Islamism, claiming that it's racist. These groups shouldn't be allowed in the country, as far as I'm concerned. Certainly, their outrageous attempts to censor and sanitize our language and to inhibit law enforcement is eviscerating national security. And the people that are allowing this to happen are people in this administration. And for that, I believe they are traitorous.
Thank you very much, Steve Emerson. Appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again.